Good morning. Welcome back to Used Machinery Challenge, Farming Simulator 25 on the Panhandle Caprock map. And I see some New Holland stuff here in the sale. So let's check it out. Indeed, a T7 New Holland. Unfortunately, I see no realistic way of making $184,000 to get that. But yeah, there's a nice big New Holland in the sale. All right, 13.4. When I hit 17.9, that means that the trees are ready to be cut. Alright. Go ahead and get this pallet of flour into the storage. Let's be on my property line up. There's the wedge. Oh, there was the wedge. Lost it now. first tree in. All right, let's see how much is in the wood mill now. The sawmill. Yeah, I can get one more in there. Strapping seems to work on a little wedge. Who would have guessed that? Now let's feed some cattle. So it looks like they ate 3 loads worth of TMR overnight. I wonder if it'll eventually get to the point where they go through 4 loads of TMR in a night. Okay, click. Chicken little kitten decided to turn my dumper off. Yeah, click. What we call a chicken little cat was a drop-off that was living with my chickens in the front yard until I finally managed to catch her in a live trap and bring her in the house and tame her down. Unfortunately, we were unable to find a new buddy to take her in, so we ended up having another house cat. We already had 2 minion. Then we got another one. And then just last week, another stray dropped off kitten showed up here at the farm, so we got yet another house cat that we don't need that exceeds any decent level. Unfortunately, that sort of thing happens around here a lot. Because while we're in a rural area, we're not that far out of developed areas, so it's not unusual for suburbanites or even urban people who have a animal that they don't want anymore just to drive out here and toss it out of the car on the side of the road. Hopefully they stop first. Although it'll be hard to ever top the time I go out to the barn in the morning, and sitting right in front of the barn is a German Shepherd crammed into a dog carrier that is way too small for it. It was a young one too. It was only about 6 months old. Unfortunately, it was in the middle of the work season for me, and young German Shepherds are boundless balls of energy. I mean, this one was very docile at first because, well, he'd just been abandoned. But luckily, German Shepherds are a high demand breed, and we were able to find somebody who was willing to take them in. Because while I could use a livestock guardian dog, I would have to get one in the winter months like now when I have some time off to bond and train with the dog. If it happens during summer, I just don't have enough time to bond with the dog and train the dog to the farm. I wasn't able to, I didn't see it in time, but saw on Facebook somebody was giving away a Great Pyrenees Newfoundland cross. The Great Pyrenees is one of the most well-known of the livestock guardian breeds, and Newfoundland happens to be my favorite breed of dog. Even though I haven't had one since I was in my early teenage years, 40 some years ago. Alright, looks like, yeah, I need to spray the weeds in my field. I think it's big enough now I can call it field. It's a small field, but it is definitely a field. Alright, I'll let the AI do this while I do some. Well, damn, I want that tractor. Alright, no, nothing in the used sale yet. Let's check the contracts. Let's see, got some cultivating I can do, fertilizing I can do. Alright, for harvesting, parsnips, carrots, parsnips, parsnips, peas, carrots, parsnips, peas, red beets, and spinach. Yeah, I can't do any of that. I don't have a hoe or a plow. I can plant field 1. So field 1 planting, field 2 fertilizing. And then 3 different cultivation jobs. They're all down around me, so I guess I just got my itinerary for the day. I wish I had a hoe, because I would really, really like to use a rotary hoe to get rid of weeds instead of spraying chemicals. But you gotta dance with the horse that brought you. Alright, spraying's done. I was thinking I was just going to raise the forks up and do it that way, but I decided not to. Don't put the lime in the shed. There we go. That's what I've been trying to do all these times. This time it actually worked. It went right in there. Flour, solid fertilizer. There we go. What the? Don't want lime. I want... There. Solid fertilizer. That's what I want. I really like this having 2 3-points thing. Let's see if I can just do both of these contracts with both equipment. implements hooked up the whole time instead of swapping between the two. I did this intending to swap between the two, but I got thinking, I wonder if I can do both at once without swapping, so now I'm going to find out. Tool attached incorrectly. Okay. I guess that answers that. It was worth a try. Alright, I'll be back when these are done. Okay, just about done with this contract. Well, the contract itself is done. I'm just making it look nice here to finish up. Okay. And yeah, having the spreader and the planter on at the same time confuses the worker, so you can't do that. But it works just fine if I do it. Oops. Of course, it's nice the way to transport it all over here. So I'm out of the field. Let's go ahead and collect these two. It's actually the next day here for me. So let me check the used sale and see where we're at in used sale. Alright. I'd love to have that New Holland tractor, but I don't see how. Let's see if there's any more interesting contracts. Some cultivating. Looks like they're all down here. Harvesting. Parsnips, carrots, parsnips, parsnips, peas, carrots, parsnips, peas, red beet, spinach. Yeah, I can't do any of that harvesting. I don't have a hoe for hoeing or plow, so yeah, looks like I'm gonna take these 3 cultivation contracts. Since they're all grouped together and they're all fairly small. You know, I think I've never seen a counterweight available in the market, in the used sale. So I'm thinking that the counterweights might not be available to pop up in the sale. I'll keep an eye on it here for a little while, but I might just have to go and buy me a new counterweight because you just can't buy them used. Although sometimes I just use one of my smaller implements as a weight. You know, like the spreader here on the front, full of fertilizer or lime is pretty heavy. But it can, like I said, it confuses the worker having it on. It's almost 2 o'clock, so I imagine once these are done, that'll be the end of the episode. Alright, the contract's working. I'll be back when they're done. And I'm back because something popped up in the used sale. Remember before I'd spoken about possibly buying the bottomlands of the river and planting rice down there? Well, here we go. A rice planter has popped up in the used sale. I have the money to buy it, so I'm going to go ahead and buy it. There we go. So now I have the ability to plant both long grain rice and natural rice, or white rice. But with that said, I don't have the specialized picker I need for wet rice. But the fact that I could afford the regular rice planter and it was available meant that I had to snag it. Okay, and as you can see, it started raining, but that's fine for cultivating. I'll be back when this is done. Okay, that's out of the field now. So go ahead and collect all these missions or contracts. All right, 45,000. And while I was gone, I went and picked up my new rice planter and drove that back home. Might be a while before I get to use it because I'm not going to plant a rice field until... Well, I might plant long grain rice, but I'm not going to plant wet rice until such time as I have a rice harvester. long grain rice can be harvested with my combine, so that's fine. And of course, before I can plant wet rice, I'll need to build a greenhouse to make rice seedlings. Alright, I'm back at the farm. Turn off the engine. So, pretty productive day. Worked kind of late, out to 8, so I'm going to call this an episode. Have a good night.